5 years and still talking. This is GabNet, the Great American Broadcast Network. Talk like you've never heard it before. You love GabNet. You love the hosts and the citizen panels. In fact, you wish you could take them wherever you go. On your computer, log on to gabnet.net, where our stream is available around the clock. On your TV, GabNet is available on Roku with the same around-the-clock stream, plus all the latest episodes of GabNet programs, old favorites, videos, and tons of celebrity interviews. When you're mobile, we're on your iPhone or iPad with podcasts accessible via iTunes or Stitcher, and that same around-the-clock stream on TuneIn. If you don't want GabNet wherever you go, well, the hell with you. Go ahead, listen to your old-fashioned talk shows that do things in the same old predictable way. Meanwhile, the rest of us will be having fun listening to talk like you've never heard it before on GabNet. GabNet needs you. Yes, GabNet needs you to call our live programs and be a part of the citizen panels. It's the most innovative talk format yet, because it's not just one caller, it's a group of callers interacting with the hosts at the same time. Here's how you do it. It's simple. First, download Skype at skype.com. To install it, answer 4 simple questions: first name, last name, email address, and your choice of ID. Then launch Skype, go to Add Contacts, type in GabNet Live, and ask to be made a contact. Then you're ready to be on the citizen panel. If you're too lazy, well, you can always call on the phone at 347-352-0079. That's 347-352-0079. For all the information and a call button for Skype, log on to gabnet.net. At the bottom of the page, you'll find a video on how to call us and how to use GabNet. It couldn't be easier. It couldn't be more fun and exciting. We're new. We're different. But we need you to call. So for crying out loud, call, or we'll kill this dog. Don't worry, Fluffy. They won't let you die. I'm not kidding. Call or Fluffy gets it. Oopsie. Spotify has 180 million monthly users and access to 35 million songs and podcasts. Now, all those offerings are going to have to move over and make room for GabNet programming. Yes, at long last, Alex Bennett's Ramble, Damian Chaplin's Exchange, Jack Bishop's The Intersection, and even the franchise MC's Arena and Michael Snyder's weekly movie reviews will be fighting for space on this massive platform. Each day, the programs are updated, so you can hear them on the Spotify app, available for all smartphones and game consoles. Or you can just go to Spotify on the web at spotify.com. So, give us a shot on Spotify. There's a 35 million to 5 chance we'll get people to listen to talk like they've never heard it before. 5 years and still talking. This is GabNet, the Great American Broadcast Network. Talk like you've never heard it before.
Another evening of fun, excitement, talk, and doing something very futile with my life that absolutely does nothing to enhance it. Well, outside of the fact that I get to talk to a bunch of people that I kind of consider my friends. If you hear the, I don't know if you can hear the air conditioner in the background, but if you can, it's because it's getting to be air conditioning time, and there's no such thing as a silent air conditioner. Oh, boy. Anyway, hey, we got a good show for you. A little bit later, we're going to be talking with our citizens panel. But right now, we're going to go over and talk to somebody who we love talking to every couple of weeks. The lost. We go out to Oregon I was going to go Los Oswego, Lake Oswego, where we find Ronnie Bennett. She's an ex-wife. That's the bad thing. The good thing is she happens to be a great ex-wife. So anyway, hi Ronnie.
Hi, how are you?
Yeah, good. I'm okay. Tired all the time. I always feel tired. Is that something about getting old?
How old are you?
Hmm?
How old are you?
79.
Well, okay, you've been around that long, your body's probably tired.
Oh, jeez, But I drink coffee like crazy, and that doesn't seem to help. But,
I wish I'd brought my coffee with me. It's not here.
Oh, well. Here, you want some of this?
Don't I wish?
Yeah. Yeah. So how have you been? How you feeling? Getting
I'm
along?
fine.
She's getting along singing a song.
Sort of, yeah, more or less.
You write a blog. She writes a blog called timegoesby.net. That's where you'll find it. It's basically her what can we call it? Her specialite is getting older, mainly because she's doing it. And I guess anybody who gets older is kind of an expert at it,
Well, I'm not really not. And that's why the subtitle of my blog is What It's Really Like to Get Old. Because in our lifetime in America, this isn't true in most other countries, discussing getting old, getting tired, as you mentioned, things going wrong, all the stuff that goes on with old people, we weren't allowed to talk about. Oh, we can't talk about things that aren't cheerful,
Yeah.
Nobody would let you talk about it. So you don't know about all kinds of things that aren't necessarily very treatable or even need treatment because, hey, that's about getting old. And so you can't do that in public. And what I have done over 15 years, I didn't start out to do this. I didn't know I was doing it, but it's become this. Much of it, thanks to my readers, is it's a safe place for people to come and talk about those things that you can't talk about with your friends who won't let you talk about having wrinkles or, or things not working the way they used to and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And it's a safe place and has been for years now where people can talk about those things. And it's even these days you get rushed through the doctor's office so quickly that, if you've got a pain in your toe, well, maybe that's not quite as important as you can't breathe this week.
Right, exactly. Well, like I have numb feet, and I find out that a lot of people my age have numb feet.
Neuropathy.
Yes. And I just go, it's like you always used to say that Betty Davis said getting old ain't for sissies, and that's really, it's my motto. There are little pains, there are aches, there's this, there's that. Every year I notice at the pill box where I put my pills, it's starting to overflow now. Where before it was like one pill. Hey, take the cholesterol pill. Okay, good. So I'm like a pill factory now. And I go to.
I have a lot of them too. I got a new one. One of the big things about cancer and chemo is that both of them reduce your appetite. Chemo does all by itself. Cancer does all by itself. And of course, together, they suppress your appetite. Mm-hmm. And of course, the last thing you want to do if you have cancer is lose weight, lose muscle mass, because then you're going to die.
Yeah.
So I have to fight it constantly because I'm never, ever hungry. And so I must have mentioned this on our little show before, that sometimes I just perfectly know that if I put one more spoonful or one more forkful in my mouth, I'm going to throw up. And so I can't, and then, weight goes down. I can lose a pound and a half overnight if I don't eat enough the day before that day.
Yeah.
So that's very difficult. Yeah. And then I got a new pill, and I said, thanks a lot. All I need is one more pill for that damn little box. I've come to hit 2 of them. I keep one for morning, one for evening.
Yeah.
And it turned out that this was a pill. All this time, 2 years I've been going to this place. All of this time I've been complaining about I don't have any appetite and I have to force feed myself. They gave me this pill. It's the tiniest little pill you ever saw. And I'm supposed to cut it in half. And guess what? I wake up hungry in the morning. I haven't done that in a couple of years.
Oh, well, that's good. That's good.
Well,
you
it's
know,
still not a
maybe,
big deal,
maybe,
but it's better than it was before. At least I don't feel sick when I think about food.
you know, I went and lost all that weight, like 60 pounds, and I'm beginning to wonder if that was a good idea. That if, in fact, you aren't fatter, it takes longer for you to die from some kind of wasting disease.
But not many people die of a wasting disease.
Of course, I remember there was a gym in San Francisco that got assailed for their advertising campaign, which read, when the aliens come, they're going to eat the fat ones first.
So here, that's why you lost the weight, huh?
Yeah, that's why I lost the weight.
I have to tell you, there's a wonderful nurse where I go at the oncology lab who's in her early 60s, and she's been working in oncology her entire career.
Yeah.
And when I first started, she said, eat cheese, eat eggs, eat meat. I need lots of protein, lots of fat. All the stuff I avoided eating all my life. All of a sudden she wants me to eat a whole lot of it. And I complained to her once that this didn't seem like a very healthy diet to me, that there were hardly any greens in it, because if I fill up with vegetables, there's no space for fat and protein.
Right.
And she said to me, Ronnie, how did she put it? Ronnie, cancer will kill you long before the diet will. Do what I tell you.
Yeah. So, anyways, but I just notice as you get older that I finally, as I said, I realize why sometimes old people are accused of being grouchy, and now I know why they're grouchy. I mean, we're in constant forms of just small little niggling pains. You know what I'm saying? It's nothing. It's like there's not anything that's overwhelming where the doctor goes, well, you're going to have an operation. Didn't have anything like that. But, it's ridiculous. I just, well, anyway, enough of my complaining. I'll tell you what I did do. I went to something the other night, and I walked out after a half hour. And you could have gone there. You could have been there. You were welcome to be there at that party. It was the 43rd year of WPLJ, which they're putting out to pasture. They sold it to a religious organization who's going to turn it into God music all the time. And so they held a big goodbye for WPLJ.
Are they going to get rid of the call letters?
Yes, they are. And I lasted about a half hour before I had to leave. Because to begin with, I was there with somebody who'd been there on and off for a period of 20 years, later on, after us, okay? And he knew everybody. And I didn't know anybody. And the people we worked with, except for Corrine Baldessandro, you remember the name? She was the music director.
Say it again.
Corrine Baldessandro.
Oh,
she was a music director. She came up to me.
So it was Ann Sternberg for a while.
Yeah, but that was it. That and Jimmy Fink, who I don't think was in that first wave that was there. We were in the first wave. We were in the beginning of that whole thing. And it was like I didn't exist. Because I wasn't part of their top four, their more popular music, more mainstream format, but I went back to the beginning, and I walked out depressed. I just, I went, fuck this,
life goes on and different things become important. And I think that when we say it's not like the good old days, us old folks.
Yeah.
Well, that's how it works.
But if you're saying goodbye to something and you're holding a party to celebrate that period of time, don't you go back to the very beginning and say, hey, these are the people who were there? But it's like we didn't even exist, because we were that wacky progressive format,
Yes, we did take a lot of grief for that, didn't we?
Yeah. But I mean, It's just that I would figure that I would go in and they go, oh, Alex Bennett, you were part of the first wave. You were the very beginning of what we are now celebrating the end of. All right. And then, so I just left. I said, it's too noisy, it's too crowded, and it's too.
You sound like such a cranky old man.
No, but this wasn't being a cranky old man. I would have put up with that if there was some feeling that I mattered in this group. And by the way, of the original personalities, I was the only one who showed up. And there are other ones still alive. Vince Scelsa is still alive. Michael Kaskuna is still alive, So I was the only one who showed up.
Well, you don't know what condition they're in or how much it means to them. I have a lot of jobs that don't mean a thing to me and 2 or 3 that I love.
Well, you know what? My whole thing was I didn't want to go. And I didn't want to go because of the very reason it turned out to be, that I felt it would not be my party, okay? Or that I would be part of that party. This was going to be a party for all the people who, were there later, And I think that's probably what those other people felt too, and that's why they didn't show up. But,
well, you don't know that. They might have been busy.
I left, and then my friend Albert, who came in for this thing, sent me a picture, and they put up a photograph of me with John and Yoko, and he says, see, they celebrated you. And I wrote back and I said, they weren't celebrating me. If John and Yoko weren't in that picture, they wouldn't have shown it.
It's okay.
Yeah.
That was then and this is now, and the world is a whole new place.
Well,
that's one of the interesting things about being old in the younger generation.
Yeah.
Is that we bring along with us the memories of our youthful adulthood.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And we think it hasn't changed in 40 years or 50 years. The world has nothing to do with
no,
what we
I understand
began.
it. Look, I understand that. By the way, I got to tell you something. This is amazing. I worked for 2 major radio stations in New York City, WMCA, right, and WPLJ. What did WMCA become?
I'm sorry, what does what?
What did WMCA become? What is it to this day? Huh?
I have no idea.
It became a religious station.
And now this one is.
And now this one's going to church music. I'm a fucking pariah.
I wonder if they're getting rid of the call letters because they stood for, or at least we said they did,
white port and lemon juice. No, I think they got rid of it because they wanted to give their own call. I don't know, K God or W God or whatever. I don't know what they're going to call it. And I also, everybody was going, oh, it's going away. Oh, the legacy of this station. And I'm thinking, what fucking legacy? This thing has had 5 formats over that time. It was WPLJ. That was the call sign. But the nature of the station kept changing and evolving with the time, or doing what it felt it had to do in order to survive. So what are you moaning about? Are you moaning? Which format are you moaning about? And so this whole idea, the WPLJ is going away. It's, all things go away with time. So
clearly there were some people there who were old enough to remember what you remember.
Not really, no. Well,
then why would
I have
been there to lament it not being that way
I was being
anymore.
introduced by my friend Albert as, this is Alex Bennett, and he was with WPLJ in the very beginning, and they go, oh, really? Like they didn't hear of it. And then as the evening went on, he just said, this is my friend Alex, because it didn't seem to matter to anybody. And after a while, I got to feel like his plus one.
Well, that's okay, too. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yes, sir.
I think you're making more of this than you should.
Well, I was just hurt.
People just can't remember what they weren't alive for, Alex,
Actually, if I think about it, I'm more proud of Midnight Blue than I am of PLJ. Okay, if I had to say I did something in New York. Only because, of the nature of the fact that we were tweaking whiskers on the cat.
Wasn't Howard Stern there when we were first there?
No. Howard Stern was at, where was he? WNBC is where he was, but not while we were there.
Okay.
He came later. He came after I left New York. No, he was there while I was in New York. He had to be. And he went from WNBC over to, I can't remember what the name of the station was, but Mel Karmazin hired him over there and,
Right.
Turned him into a star.
Yeah.
And
Did you see the interview with him this week?
which one?
The big one. I guess it's in the Times from yesterday.
Oh, I didn't see that. No, he's got a book out, so
Well, that's okay.
Well-
I mean, don't put that down. You can write a book and then you can go do those shows.
I got a whole story for you about that book. But it's too personal a story for somebody else, so I'll let them tell the story. But somebody else thought that book and got it published and all that, and now is not getting any credit for it. So
Who's not getting credit
well,
for
I'm
it?
not gonna. I don't want to say, okay, but there's somebody that we know who came up with this whole idea, pitched it to the book companies for Howard, got it published, and is not getting any credit for having even been part of it. So
They rarely are. I mean, that's a broker, and they're rarely in the book, named in the book industry.
yeah, well, this is not a broker. This is a guy who was a biggie at
He
CB.
behaved. He was acting as a broker.
He was acting as a broker
within the
yeah.
business.
Yeah.
And you don't get mentioned for having made a phone call.
Well, you do get mentioned by somebody who is respectful of you and is happy you did this for him. You know what I'm saying?
You're having a terrible Thursday morning.
I'm having a horrible Thursday morning. What the fuck? Come on. You write about old people. You got one here. What the hell?
Yeah. Well, me too.
Yeah.
And it is what it is. I just, I don't like talk about the idea of emphasize the positive. I mean, there's even some Disney song about it. Accentuate the positive.
Johnny Mercer wrote that.
Okay, well, it was, in some Disney movie or something. But, mostly I just want, I just don't think about that much.
Yeah.
And I don't, I used to jump out of bed. That's, a lot of that's thanks to you, that you always had 6 a.m. radio shows, so we had to get up at 4:30.
Yeah.
And that hung on for most of the rest of my life, that I'd wake up that early no matter what. And after we broke up, I also had a bunch of TV shows that I worked on for a few years that went on the air at 7 a.m. or something like that. So I have lots of practice at going to bed early, getting up early. But now when I wake up after a good night's sleep, 8, even 9 hours, God, it's hard to get out of bed. And I used to just right out of the bed and ready to go.
Well, the thing is, I find that at my age, I'm nursing enough grudges that my nipples hurt. So.
Is that a reference I should know, or you just made that up?
I just made that up here.
Okay.
But I think somebody else probably said it before me. I would imagine. It's an obvious joke.
My son tells me that recently when he woke
that
up,
sounds weird to me when you say that. My son tells me.
Yes, tells me that his son, my grandson, when he woke him up to get ready for breakfast and preschool, asked him, he said, "Daddy, it was such a cute way to put it. Why does morning come so fast?" or something close to that. And it does seem to when you first wake up. He's right.
Yeah.
It seems like you just fell asleep.
Well, I notice, and this, again, is, I guess, part of getting old. When I used to wake up in the morning, I would do this. Oh, yeah. Right? Mm-hmm. Now I go, fuck.
I used to think coffee was important to get me going.
Yeah.
Nothing compared to now. It is crucial now. Getting through this 30-minute show we do that I forgot to bring my coffee cup over here with me is driving me crazy.
Well, you only got about 6 more minutes, so hold on. Hold on. The coffee doesn't do anything for me. I'm doing Starbucks Plus.
I wouldn't go near Starbucks, but that's another story.
Well, this is one of those, I put them in and it's plus, and it's got double the caffeine. Doesn't do crap for me. But
sure does for me.
Yeah. So, I mean, the whole process of getting old, you say that not everybody's an expert on it, even though they're getting old.
Oh, no, I don't think so, because we haven't been able to talk about it.
Yeah.
And a lot of, sorry, and because we're slowly beginning to do that, because, of course, the number of old people is growing and people know a market when they see it.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit more to it, but almost all of it is how positive it is, how wonderful it is to get old, and how terrific it is. And you can now go, you always see photographs online of very movie star attractive old people with gray hair walking on the beach. You know, you've seen all those photos.
Yes, right.
And that's what getting old is like. It's not. And it's okay to talk about what's wrong. And people are really nasty about that to people who try to talk about it. And someone pointed out on my blog this week is that young mothers, they get together and they talk about raising children, or if they're going through the pregnancy. Sorry, I apologize. And if they go through a divorce, you go to your friends who've been there and you talk about that. Mm-hmm. Your parents die. You're at the age where other friends' parents are dying. So you get together with that group and talk about it then, when you get there. And there's no reason why you shouldn't do that about getting old. You did it for all those other major events in life, but now you're at a brand new one that the culture still says, no, nobody's old. Old is wonderful. Well, no, it's not. I can't get out of this chair.
Yeah, but what I've been saying is that as we get older, the topic of conversation at dinner changes from at various ages to our age, where invariably you start talking about medical plans, you start talking about something that's bothering you or ailing you.
But that's what goes on in old age, in the same way that, if you're pregnant, there comes a point where, no, you can't get out of a chair unless somebody pulls you out.
Well, this is why I don't believe in God. If there were a God, as you got older, things would get easier and better. If there was a compassionate God.
It gets better.
Huh?
It doesn't mean the pains aren't there. It doesn't mean that you aren't slowed down and can't walk as fast as you used to, or carry as many groceries all at once in from the car or anything. But there are plenty of things that are better about being. I look back at things that worried me for days, that I even went to shrinks for now and again. And what the hell was I doing? That's nothing. Yeah. I didn't need to make such a big deal of that. It wasn't that important, but you thought it was at the time.
Oh, I like it. I like the last words of Marlon Brando as he was dying, and he said, "What was that all about?"
Yeah, well, I kind of feel that way, but we don't know he really said that. So be very wary of people's last words. They almost never what they said.
Let's say he didn't say it. It's a great story, because I imagine that you do look back on your life and go, "What the fuck was all that about?" I mean, I'm amazed now that I look back on it how fast it's gone by. And when I was a kid, it moved at a snail's pace. My next birthday was eons away. Now my next birthday is any day now,
I know.
So I mean, that's how things start to change. And
although I've discovered it hasn't happened often enough that I can have a reasonable conversation about it yet, although I will when I work it out. But just in the last 2 or 3 or 4 weeks, there have been some periods of time. I was going to say perhaps it's when I'm doing tedious things like filing paper that you need to keep for some reason or something. But when I'm doing that sort of thing, or I was making something on the stove and you had to stir it all the time, and my God, is that boring. And time just creeps by in a way I haven't felt in years, and almost always I felt like what you're describing. And this is the first time in many years that I felt that time was dragging for me.
Really? Wow. Hey,
I don't
listen,
know if that has any significance yet, but there you are.
I looked down at the clock. Guess what? Another wonderful time has passed here. And we've talked, in case people mind that we talk about getting old, fuck you. Fuck you. This is what, we're talking about. And it's important. And it's important that you go over to her blog and read timegoesby.net, because she really, really is following it and tells you a lot about what it's like. And other people do too on that site as well. So it's good.
It's a wonderful, wonderful group of commenters.
Ladies and gentlemen, she's a former wife, but she's now a present regular every 2 week feature on this program. It's Ronnie Bennett. Thank you so much, Ronnie.
Thank you, Alex.
Years and still talking. This is GabNet, the Great American Broadcast Network. Talk like you've never heard it before.
Okay, that's Ronnie Bennett. Okay, all right. Now listen, I got to say something. Something's really pissing me off, okay? And you know who it is. It's you, SG, you fucking motherfucking cocksucker. Do not call this program, okay? I open up, I have my Skype open up. Now, the trouble with Skype these days, with the new Skype, is that if you've got Skype just even open, and you've got it on like invisible or do not disturb, people can still call you. That makes no sense to me whatsoever. So, anyway, SG kept calling, trying to call the program. SG, don't you listen to this program before you call it? Don't you realize that we are currently not taking calls? Pay attention. Quit being so self-absorbed. Anyway, so I don't want to talk to him if he calls. Okay? All right. Let me see here. Let me open up Skype here. Now, see, I got to open up Skype. By the way, I find that I'm a little bit off kilter here, a little out of sync. But I don't understand why, but what the hell. Anyway, the lines are now open, and you can call the program, and we can start taking calls from you. And it's GabNet Live if you're using Skype. Really, that's the thing you should use. If you're not using Skype, it just makes it annoying because we don't get your picture, and you're not going to have the same amount of fun. So if you don't know how to use Skype, go check it out. Figure out how to use it and call us using Skype. If you don't want to use Skype, you can call us. There is a phone number over at gapnet.net that you can call that doesn't require you to have Skype. But nevertheless, I'm hoping that you will just, call me. Anyway, it's GabNet Live is the Skype number on it. So I don't know if I'm out of sync or not. I have no idea. I don't, and I don't give a shit. Okay? All right. So for the most part, I think I'm okay. And I'm not going to adjust it here or anything like that. I think it's working just fine. So we're waiting for people to call. That's what we do here, and the line is open now. And here comes Charlie Wallace. He's the first one, and I don't even know if I'm going to even have to do anything about turn your camera on there, Charlie. But he's already got a spot here, as you can see, where that Skype thing is. Are you there, Charlie? Are you there?
I'm trying.
Okay, all right. I don't know what's going on here. Anyway, here comes Phil Meyer.
Hey.
Yeah, yep. There's Phil. Oh, wait a minute. Let me go to the 3-panel. Okay, here we go. There we go. All right, there. That's better. That's better. Okay. Anyway, I seem to be a little out of sync, but I don't understand why. Let's see here. Wait a minute.
Because you're not standing in the shower.
You know what the problem is? I got to take you, Phil, and put you in the number 1 spot here because you're not. You're in another spot, and that's not. You're in the 4th spot, which is not in this. Okay, there we go.
Number one.
There you go. There you go. Yeah. So. Anyway, I'm a little out of sync, I think, but I'm not sure. I don't know.
I can't tell.
I don't know how it goes out, but somehow And I can do something about it actually. If I
Well, you're not out of sync on Skype, and for me to look at the YouTube,
Yeah.
it's 30 seconds later.
Yeah. So yeah.
so
So you're
anyways,
definitely out of sync on my
you,
YouTube.
you know, I could change the sync on this, but it would be so minor that it wouldn't really matter. So,
Yeah.
you know, what the hell? I'm getting so tired of the technology. I just want to puke. There's a show called What We Do in the Shadows, which I think I talked about, which I said is one of the funniest shows on the air about vampires. And there's this recent episode where they're on trial for killing another vampire who they didn't kill, but it was an accident. And it's very funny. But what happens is one of the vampires is played by Wesley Snipes, who calls in by Skype. And it's constantly glitching. And he's not hearing what people are saying right. And he's out of sync. And one of them says, Wesley, put your Skype closer to your router. And it's like a whole joke against Skype, which I kind of like.
Yeah.
So, you know.
Let's see. I'm binging a series called Longmire, and I've gotten through 2 seasons of 6.
Oh,
And
I thought that
it's,
was a boring
about
show.
a sheriff.
I know, I saw it.
It's not boring, but I like those guys that have a lot of what do you call it?
Cop stuff.
Well, it's not just cop stuff. They live to a higher level. You know, they do the right thing.
Really?
Kind of people.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
I actually like those kind of.
Oh, okay. Well, good for you. You know, I just this show's very funny that I've been watching. So if you get a chance, watch it. It's silly. It's very
You
very
said
silly.
it was on FX,
FX. Yeah.
and it's called again.
What We Do in the Shadows.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because they're vampires.
Yeah.
I'm not a real vampire fan.
Well, this has.
I'm not a
I
zombie
I
fan.
don't give a shit if you don't care about vampires. This is not about. It's a comedy show. Okay, it's a comedy, but it's a comedy about vampires, and it makes fun of the whole. You know,
genre.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Barnabas Collins from Dark Shadows, the guy who actually played him. I don't know his real name, but he just died about 2 months ago.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I never liked that
was,
show. I thought that show sucked.
I used to come home from school. I think
Yeah,
I was
you
in
would
sixth-
like it. You would like
Yeah,
it.
I was in 6th or 7th grade, and I'd sit there. The TV was in my parents' bedroom,
Yeah.
and I would sit down on the floor between the bed and the TV, maybe 3 feet away, 2 feet away, and eat Captain Crunch cereal and watch and watch Dark Shadows. It was an addicting show to a 6th grader.
To a 6th grader. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, anyway,
What the
so
hell
we're
is
waiting
that?
for some other people to call. Somebody tried to call me earlier, but anyway.
You said SG.
Oh,
tried to call
fuck
you.
him. Fuck him. You know, he doesn't listen to the show. He just calls. He's so obsessed with himself.
Well, think about this. You don't open up the Skype line usually until it's ready
but
to
it
be opened.
wasn't open. It was on
Well,
do
that's
not.
not his-
It was on do not disturb.
Well, okay,
What does that
so I
seem
guess-
to? What does that seem to say to you? Now the trouble with
it says
Skype is that
call.
the Skype, even if I have do not disturb on, and somebody decides to call it because he's not even paying attention to his Skype to see if I'm online or not.
Yeah.
And fuck him. I don't need that kind of participation that doesn't give a shit what I'm doing at the moment. And then, so the ringing sound of the Skype went on while during Ronnie's interview, all because
Oh, you can hear that?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, we heard it. Yeah.
Yeah. I
It
listened
always
to
happens on
most of the
it always happens on the first call. Okay. And I don't turn it off because I'd like to see when the first call comes in. But I mean, Jesus, pay attention, listen. Have you checked out to see what's happening right now? And if you're not, don't just call blindly.
Well, I went and made my tea when you started complaining about the WPLJ thing.
Yeah. Well, you heard that last night. Okay.
Well, I don't
I
call.
said it was time for tea.
What'd you say?
So I don't call until I see the green light on Skype. That's when you open the line.
That's correct. That's correct. Here comes Charlene Martinez. Let's see if she automatically gets added anyway. Yes, she does. Yeah, this thing is working weird, but it's working. I always get a thing saying, yeah, it says you missed the call, but there she is, ladies and gentlemen. Let me just put her in that.
And you did miss the call. You had a big career in floor covering sales, and you didn't take up on it.
Yeah. So anyway, now I'm in sync. Now that there are other people. Before, remember when there were the more people that happened, I went out of sync.
Right.
Now the more people there are, I go into sync. So I'm not going to offset my audio for my video, because as the show goes on, I start getting more and more in sync. So,
All right.
I give up.
Oh,
Anyway,
Alex,
yes, Charlene.
I can't, guarantee how I'm going to be here because I have a massive sinus infection. I'm on an antibiotic.
Well, then
Do I sound horrible?
Then you should be getting better, actually.
Yeah, I know. I took 2 of them. I'm getting excited.
Oh, was this the first night of the Zithromax?
Oh, it's I forget which one it is. Not
Zithromax, you take
but...
2, and then you take 1.
Oh no, he gave me all those Z-packs, but
yeah. Oh, those are
like
great.
Oh yeah, so I'm excited that this guy gave me something. So
yeah.
I made like I didn't want it, and then he gave it to me.
I don't open up my Skype all the way on my screen because I don't need to. Okay. Mm-hmm. But do you guys get people in landscape mode? Because I'm getting you in landscape mode on my Skype, but the other 2 people are square.
Well, we're not hip, but I see you all in landscape.
I do too. Yeah.
So if you open up your monitor, that it may be restricting the size of what you see.
That could be. That could be. But
just like on a phone, you have
as I open it up, people are wider. Yeah.
Well, I've been wide for a while.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah, I'm wide too.
Anyway,
he asked me if I lost any weight today.
Anybody see this? Anybody watch this thing last night that they did, where they did all
in the family?
Yeah, thing? I thought it was terrible.
I didn't see it. I after my credit cards got lost before the trip.
Yeah.
One of the ones that I didn't call to renew was CBS On Demand.
Well, this was ABC.
It was ABC.
Yeah.
Yeah, but All in the Family was on.
Well,
then I would have had to have Hulu, I guess.
When it was on.
You would have had to have Hulu. Yeah, well, I mean, or watch ABC,
Back in the old days,
I don't know if I get
ABC. That had it, though.
Yeah, but I watched a bit of it and I got bored with it because really, I mean, I expected that if Woody Harrelson was doing it and so on, and Jamie Foxx, that they were going to bring their own spin to the characters. And they didn't. They were just doing their impressions of the people who played the characters, and that was off-putting. I don't know. It just turned me off completely. I don't want to see somebody play, what's his name, Archie Bunker as what's his name played it. I want him to see him. I wanted to see him take Archie Bunker and put his own spin on it.
Yeah, and Jamie Foxx did like this horrible impression.
He did a horrible impression of George Jefferson. Yeah. And I thought it was terrible. I just thought it was horrible.
Just like at WPLJ, you can never go back.
What'd you say?
I said just like at WPLJ, you can never go back.
Yeah, well, apparently they were trying to last night, and and everybody was going, "Oh, this is." I was listening today. People were going, "Oh, this was so wonderful. This was terrific." No, it wasn't.
Yeah, just because they said the N word.
I expected them to bring something new.
Then they bleeped it. They didn't let it go through.
Oh, they bleeped it?
Yeah, they can't say the N word anymore.
No.
And then they had a big discussion, about how they can't say the N word anymore. Times have changed, and afterwards they had a big thing about
Because I listened to Jack's show and he was talking to somebody and they said that they sent it and they didn't bleep it. So maybe I misunderstood.
I think you did because I heard Jack's show and they didn't say that.
Yeah. Anyway, it was. I thought it was just. It was. I had to turn it off. I got tired of it. I was bored to begin with.
And it was weird, Alex. it was like an old show, like
Well,
an old.
that was fine. That was okay. If they wanted to use an old script, that's fine. But the fact was, for instance, that Woody Harrelson didn't have the comedy timing
Mm.
of what's his name who played Archie Bunker. Did not
And he
have
was
the
doing that
Carol.
accent.
yeah, it's more like
Like
he was more.
Charlie.
It was
He's
more
saying
into
like
doing the
Georgia.
impression of Archie Bunker than to do the comedy timing that was needed to make it funny.
Mm.
You know?
I thought though, Marissa Tomei,
Yeah.
she was pretty good as Edith. I liked her.
I thought she was fine, but again, she's doing Edith voice, and I would have liked to have seen her put her own spin on it. She's a very talented woman, and I think she could have done that. I thought Jamie Foxx was horrid as
Yeah.
George Jefferson. I thought did you see it, Charlie?
No, I didn't.
Oh, okay. So people here are discussing it with me, and they didn't see it. So I don't know why I'm talking
Well,
about
I
it.
only know from what I heard on Jack's show.
Yeah.
and I'm not so sure I heard it straight.
Yeah. Did Jack like it?
I don't think so.
Really?
Somebody liked it, somebody else didn't like it.
I don't think everybody saw it on his show either.
Patrick was talking about it. I don't think he saw it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, who knows? Anyway.
But it was strange. They didn't do the whole show. They cut it, and then they started doing the Jeffersons.
No, they did the whole show. They did.
They did?
Oh, yeah, they did. Well, that whole show was an hour and a half. They actually probably had to stretch it out.
Mhm.
Okay, either that or they just put in more commercials than they did in the old days.
Mm-hmm.
But
My mother kept complaining.
each
Maria doesn't have blonde hair.
Yeah.
I said, Ma, the hair isn't the point,
Yeah, the hair isn't the point. And if anything, Ellie Kemper brought her own version of that character to the show, and that's exactly what they should have done. So did what's his name? can't remember his name. Who played?
Yeah, the guy with the mustache.
Who played the Rob Reiner character? He was kind of doing his own thing. I don't think he has a mustache though, but they felt compelled to give him one because Rob Reiner had a mustache. I just would have liked to have seen them trying to put a different spin on the whole thing, and they didn't. And
Did Norman Lear have anything to do with the production of this?
Oh, he was in
there.
it. He was on.
I know.
it.
Yeah, I heard that. But did he, as a cameo or just?
No, he was one of the hosts of the show with Jimmy Kimmel.
Okay.
And
But he didn't produce it or do anything.
I'm sure he had.
Was he 96?
He's 98, I think.
Wow.
No, I'm sure he had something to do with it because he still owns those properties.
Yeah.
So I'm sure he had something to do with it. And he was saying, "Oh, they were just terrific. That was so wonderful. Of course, you want it to be because this is you're making money tonight, pal."
Yeah.
But I just felt it was mediocre at best. And if I were to have done something like that, I would have said, "I want you guys to bring your own character into this."
Or just bring the shows into this century.
Well, no, they were talking about Nixon being president and things like that. So it was a time capsule. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So they kept it in its time frame, and that's fine. But I just would have liked to have seen these actors bring their own spin on the characters rather than simply try to do a retread of the ones that already existed.
Yeah. Not a where are they now?
Exactly. So that was that. Let me see here. Was there? What? Mario Batali.
Oh yeah, you get ravioli and a scooch.
Yeah. Yeah. No, he. What's his name? Batali.
He lost his Crocs. Or...
No. He. You want to say it, Alex?
Well, he's been charged in Boston. Is it not Boston? Where is it? Boston.
Yeah.
Another one.
Boston.
Yeah, some gal
for groping
wanted to he offered a selfie with her, and he reached around and grabbed her chest and mammary gland, and then also she's saying that he fondled her private parts.
Okay, let me ask you a question. Okay.
And then wanted her to go back to his room, and
I got a couple of questions here. Okay, and folks, don't take this as a sign that I believe in this kind of behavior. I absolutely find it disgusting. But let's change the person that did this. Suppose this.
I think if he did what she said he did,
Yeah.
regardless of the person, she didn't know him. It was a little too forward.
You're using the term a little too forward, though. You're not saying this is out and out molestation.
It was not. It was definitely an invasion of her personal space.
What he did was that if what they claim he did, right. It was an absolute terrible thing, and he's a horrible human being. However, what harm was done to this woman? She wasn't raped. There wasn't. You know what I'm saying? In other words, yes. I mean, maybe he should get a fine, or maybe he should get a slap on the wrist, or maybe he should be outed in the Me Too movement. But really,
they're going after criminal charges. Is she suing him civilly?
No, I don't think so. No.
So now.
I mean, all I'm saying is,
well,
let me go back to my original question.
Okay.
Mario Batali is one of the most disgusting human beings I've ever seen. The only one who's more disgusting is Harvey Weinstein. Okay?
They look alike.
They look alike. They have that same disgusting thing.
Rotund.
Going for rotund, unshaven. They probably smell bad. I mean, I have no idea what else is going on.
So every time you get ravioli down at the Italy, you're supporting.
No, he's not part of Italy anymore.
I know he divested himself, but he still owns, doesn't he?
No.
He's been deported from Italy?
He was he was either bought out or he was thrown out of Italy and all his restaurants, which he owned also with the Bastianiches. He owned Boppo, where I like to go have dinner. He owned a couple other restaurants, and the Bastianiches were in on those restaurants with him, and in on him with Italy. And Italy does, I heard somewhere, where did I hear something like $200 million business a year out of that one location? Yeah, amazing.
It's a lot of ravioli.
Let me see here. Jeff Stein is calling. Let me get Jeff in here. Oh, there's Jeff. Okay, hold on a second. Let me add Jeff to the here. I'll have to get out of here and then go back in here.
Somebody's got their audio on.
Yeah, somebody's got their audio on, do they? Okay, let me see here. Jeff Steinzeller. There we go. Okay. And Jeff Stein, is he there? Yep. Okay, so I'll make the transition. So we now have the other one here. Okay, so there we go. No, but here's what I'm saying. They're both disgusting human beings. What if this were George Clooney? Okay.
I don't think they'd complain.
You know what they'd say? Guess what George Clooney just did to me? I mean, that's the point I'm making. If you look at it, the people who are being accused of this and charged with these crimes are all disgusting, vile-looking human beings. Maybe they're guilty of, among other things, being disgusting, vile-looking human beings.
But they're powerful, and they try to use their power and position to take advantage.
Him,
well, I mean,
I think some employees in some of the restaurants.
You don't think your hero Donald Trump did that in his time?
No, he just talked about how it was easy to do.
No. That wasn't the question.
TV.
That wasn't the question I was asking, Phil.
That's what he said.
No, the question I was asking was, do you think he never could have been accused of something like that?
No, he paid for his.
Jesus Christ.
Hey, anybody that pays $130 a pop, I'd sleep with him for that.
No, he paid $130,000 to hush it up. But of course,
Yeah, we don't-
this is the
doesn't
man
matter.
who told us yesterday.
after.
This is the man who yesterday told us he doesn't cover up anything ever.
Yeah.
He didn't. He had his pants off.
No. You're making a joke about it, Phil. But
Yeah.
he said he didn't. He never covered. I don't cover things up. Really?
Well,
What was that $130,000?
because you see, the thing was, it was consensual, and so what was he covering up? It's just that he was being blackmailed. Now,
No,
blackmail
he wasn't
is
being.
different
He
than
wasn't
trying to
being. He
cover up.
wasn't being blackmailed. He made a deal. They made a deal for her not to talk if they paid her $130,000.
She didn't need to make the deal, and neither did he. If she didn't approach
And
him,
she,
and
okay,
say,
but she
"I'm
made
gonna
the deal.
talk."
But nevertheless, that's covering it up. And the reason he covered it up was because he didn't want it to come out during the election.
Well, thank God he could
Well,
afford it.
no. Phil, it's a cover up. What he said he doesn't do. What do you mean? There's no way out of this, Phil. Don't try and get out of this.
Yeah, no. I'm just worried that what's her name? Who did he cover it up with the
Stormy.
porno star? What's her name?
Stormy.
Stormy Daniels.
Stormy's going to get screwed out of some of her book deal money by Avenatti. Now that's
He is
screwed.
accused. He is accused of doing that. But we have to say accused at this point. He has not
Oh,
been.
not like Trump, who, even if he's accused, he's guilty, because where there's smoke, there's
No,
fire.
I have. What have I said that he's guilty of?
Covering up.
No, we do know he covered up. Michael Cohen
He
said that
admitted he
he
covered
he paid $130,000 on behalf of Donald Trump to tell her not to tell her story.
It's fair enough. I mean, a lot of people have done things like that.
Oh, I see. Because everybody else has done it. It's okay for a
No,
guy
'cause
who
he's got a
for a
reputation.
guy who is the president of the United States. This
He
is
has
not
a
just anybody.
reputation.
He's the president of. Repeat after me. He's the president of the United States.
Oh, I am really glad that you finally acknowledged that. It's about time that you've accepted him as the president of the United States.
Do you think he's acting presidential?
No. But he's doing what he promised he was going to do, which was upset the apple cart, clean the swamp. You already have the swamp creatures like Schumer and Pelosi going crazy, calling him crazy because
He is crazy.
Well, no, they're
Here we go again. Let's not get
they're
into this.
little fiefdoms.
Let's not get into this. You're just going to keep making excuses for bad behavior, and I don't know how you can do that. But you're helping to ruin America. Okay.
Yeah. Well,
What
I
about
guess
the charge
Adam's
today?
too
Did you hear about Mayor Pete today?
Yeah. Is that when he retorted against was it
Retorted?
Trump?
Retorted?
Well, he made a statement about Trump and his bone spurs. Is that the one you're talking
What
about?
he said was that basically Donald Trump was a draft dodger.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that he invented a false medical problem in order to get himself out of the military. And someone else probably had to go in his place and put their life in jeopardy or maybe even lose their life.
So
So how do you feel about that, Phil?
Okay, Mayor Pete is a war veteran. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Two tours in
Twice.
Afghanistan.
But he was a reserve.
No.
Yes, he was a reserve, and as far as I know, you say reserves aren't real.
No,
That
I never said.
rent a
Yeah,
soldier.
Alex
Wait a
never
minute. When,
said that.
when did
He
I?
says it about me.
I never said that. You were never in the reserve.
I was a police.
No, you were a policeman. We're talking about a different thing there, Phil.
Hey, reserve is a reserve.
No, the military reserve is not the same
Plays the
thing.
guitar also. But
And what was that? What was Mayor Pete, guys? Was he in the reserve or was he in?
Yeah,
in
it's
Yeah, he was
the
in the
Navy
reserve, but he still
reserves.
served 2 tours.
He was in the Navy reserves.
Navy reserve?
Navy reserves.
And he served in Afghanistan?
Yeah, because they
Sent ships
they
over
mix
there.
all that up.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. But anyway, he made the statement today that, what happened was he was talking about how he, got out of his military service with this phony thing of bone spurs. And the guy who was interviewing him from, I think, the Washington Post, maybe, or the New York Times, asked him, he said, "Then would you say that he was a draft dodger?" And he said, "I guess I'd have to. It sounds like draft dodging to me."
In those years, that was the Vietnam War years. Now I know that you went. You were in very early on, almost before anything really happened, and I didn't support the Vietnam War at that time. I was 18 years old during the last draft, and I didn't want to go to Vietnam. I didn't believe that it was a just and a justified war, and I was similar to a lot of the youth at that time. Why is Trump any different? My mother wanted to send me to Canada.
I'll tell you why Trump is different, because Trump was drafted and he got out of it. You weren't drafted. You were simply part of that lottery, and your number did not come up in time.
Oh, it came up.
Yeah.
I was number 64.
Yeah.
But my birthday was the week of the last lottery, and that one didn't count. And that's why I like Nixon.
Okay, but you legitimately did not go. Okay?
That's correct.
And I have always said to people that I was against that war, and anybody who didn't want to go there, I would do everything I could do to defend and to support if they, for instance, refused the draft and put themselves on the line as a result of that. I wasn't particularly fond of people who ran off the. Let me finish. Let me finish.
Muhammad Ali.
Yeah. On the other hand, I was very much against people who went to Canada, because I felt what they were doing was shirking their ability to clog up the system and to fight it here at home. They simply ran away and got themselves out of the line of fire, so to speak. So I always defended the people who refused to go. I always felt they were brave, and I felt that.
What's the difference? How you get out of it if you didn't believe in
because
it?
Because one way, if you refuse to go, you put yourself up for possibility of imprisonment, of jail time, and so on. But what you're doing also in the process, if there are enough of you, is clogging up the system. All right? Whereas if you're getting out because you got a bone spur, you're just a fucking coward. Okay? You're not willing to stand up against the war, but you're not willing to be part of it either.
Alex, he couldn't stand up. He had a bone spur on his foot.
Yeah, right. When's the last time that bone spur bothered him?
Well, he's got special shoes now.
I can't even remember what foot he had them on.
Yeah, he couldn't remember what foot it was on.
Hey, I'm only 64, and I can't remember what foot I've got on.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think when I heard Mayor Pete say that today, I said, he's my guy. I mean, really. I mean, this guy, I think, can go up against Trump and take no prisoners, basically.
Well, when he feels attacked, he seems to have an ability to attack back.
No.
But so does Biden.
He's very thin-skinned. And
Trump or Biden?
Trump. And I just don't think we want that in a president. It's not.
I was talking to Ray the other night, and we were talking about that maybe, we were talking about bullies, and I said, well, maybe Trump.
By the way, is there anybody else who wants to join this conversation?
Yeah.
Please give us a call.
And Trump was bullied, and now he's a bully, except he's a bully with billions. Whether you believe them.
Well,
or not.
wait until we see the tax returns.
Yeah.
Well, the tax return is going to tell you how much he made that year. It's not going to tell you what his net worth is.
It's going to tell us a lot. It's going to tell us how much he didn't make, and how much he got from other people.
Well, there are companies that do millions and millions or billions of dollars, and the CEO takes a salary because you don't need to take.
But I believe that not only are Donald Trump's tax returns involved here, but also those of the Trump Corporation.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see. Two judges, I guess, have said that he's going to have to show them, and I guess he's going to continue to appeal. I don't think we're ever going to see them.
Well, doesn't that make you suspicious?
I don't care.
What do you mean you don't care?
I don't care how much he has in the bank. I don't care how much he made. I only care what he's doing and that he's fulfilling the promises that he made when I voted for him.
What, to ruin the country?
Well, you think it's ruining the country. I think it's preserving capitalism and fighting socialism and the evil that socialism is.
He promised
socialism
to have the back of the little guy. He promised to have the back of the people. He was going to be the politician that was going to do things for the people.
I know there's a couple of guys here that aren't working, but you know what? There's a lot of people that are, because unemployment is low. There are more people off food stamps. You shouldn't have to condemn people to be on food stamps. You give people food stamps because they need it. But if they don't need it because they're working, they're off of food stamps. It makes them...
well, somebody said today, and I agree with them, that we have to, the Democrats have to have a candidate who cares about the people that take a shower when they come home from work and not before they go to work.
So what I don't think it matters.
I think it matters that hardworking people have to know that this guy is not in their corner.
Well, he's been more in their corner eliminating regulation.
No. Eliminating regulation is being in the corner of the businesses that benefit from it, Phil.
Yeah, the small businesses.
No. Has your business been affected by his?
In a positive way.
No, in what ways? Come on, quick.
I've got a 30% increase.
What?
A 30% increase in sales. My taxes
but
are lower.
Is that because of Donald Trump?
Yeah.
No, really?
It's because of the housing market.
Or is it coincidental? No,
as the economy rises, so do the businesses around it.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is this because of Trump, or is this because it was happening anyway?
No, I suffered through 8 years of Obama.
Well, I got to tell you, you didn't suffer towards the end of Obama, because Obama's better economy, this better economy started under Obama.
May have started, but the New York Times.
Well, if he hadn't started it would have been in the ditch by the time Trump got it.
The New York Times just recently said that this is this increase in business, this good economy, is Trump, it was this week's.
Could be because businesses feel they can get away with more under Trump. What do you think, Charlie? Charlie's been quiet. Shut up, Phil. Charlie should say something.
Oh, you're just a pleasant guy. Shut up, Phil.
Yeah. Well, it's the only way to shut you up. And also, would more people call so that he doesn't have it all to himself? Well, first of all, Jeff. Yes, Jeff.
Thank you. I was going to just say that when I had my business, during Obama, we did very well with him. It was great.
That's because it's you. You were a good businessman, and but there were a lot of people that weren't doing well.
Sometimes
we didn't recover from the recession.
Well, I'm sure that Trump. I'm sure Trump is good for the bad businessman because he's a bad one himself.
Well, under Obama we were looking at 1% GDP growth. And we had much higher unemployment. Under Trump, we're looking at 3% and above GDP growth. And
Obama is bad for routes, and Trump.
The only people that had better growth, I think, was Clinton, because under the Clinton years, business was fabulous and it was growing at leaps and bounds every year. Mm-hmm. But we also had the advent of the home computer. Cell phones.
You also towards the end of the Clinton era, you had the falling out of Silicon Valley. You had that complete collapse.
Yeah, that's a bubble. They allowed that bubble to happen, just like with the housing bubble. And there are bubbles. I mean, there are always bubbles.
Yeah, we've been joined by Kevin. Let me get him on in the group here. Hold on a second. Let's see, it's Hog Rider. There he is. Okay. See, I'm getting to know you by your names now, by your nicknames, as it were. Okay, there's Kevin.
Yeah.
Yes, go ahead, Jeff.
How's your computer doing today?
It's doing fine. The only thing is that
That's
when I
great.
first start out, I'm a little out of sync, which I don't get. That part I don't get. But now I'm completely in sync. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I give up. I could probably do a little adjustment, put myself a little more in sync, but I really don't want to go through that mess. I'll just do this show and hope everybody enjoys it. Hello, Kevin.
Hi, Alex. How you doing?
Yeah.
You look great in sync.
Do I look great in sync? Were you watching it online?
Yeah, just a little bit
And,
before. Yeah.
and was I in sync?
You were in sync,
Oh,
just like
okay.
the little boy group.
All right.
At least he
It
wasn't
was a
in the
little
shower.
dance.
Little boy groups. Yeah. What do you think? Do you think Donald Trump was a draft dodger? As
Oh yeah,
Mayor Pete calls him.
yeah. Even I wouldn't. Shit.
Turn your mic up
At
a
least
little
I would
bit.
have moved to Canada or something.
Yeah, turn your mic up just a little bit. You need a little more volume.
Yeah, maybe it's turned the wrong way. Is that better?
There, that's much better. Much better. Yeah. So.
Yeah, it gets turned the wrong way, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, he was funny talking about how he's been the most transparent president ever.
He has.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the best one today was though, he is a stable genius.
Genius.
Yeah, yeah. Stable genius.
Genius
What the-
is not something you call yourself. That's something that someone calls you. Okay?
And stable?
Stable, that's something a psychiatrist determines.
Well, your mother might say it about you.
And transparent when you won't turn over your taxes?
You won't turn over your grades.
Yeah, I'm the most
let
transparent
your
president
people-
ever. He's always the most something ever. The most
Won't
transparent
let your
ever.
people testify in front of Congress. No, that's
He let him testify in front of Mueller. And,
Yeah, but
and,
they
and,
won't
and
let
just
us
because
see
you
what
didn't
they
get what you want,
testify.
you want to do
Well,
over.
hey, don't shout over Charlie.
Testify? No, he answered questions on paper. He didn't testify.
He didn't have to testify in person, but all his staff testified. His McGann,
Yeah,
30
as
hours.
of today,
his
8
son.
of them are going to
He's
jail.
the exact opposite of
Those were all pre-election
Oh
stuff.
boy, you rewrite history, Phil.
I rewrite history.
Mhm.
He's suing people so they can't release his grades. How is that transparent?
So he can't release his grades?
Hey, if you saw my grades, I'd sue to not have them released either.
Then you're not being transparent. Don't
I
claim
don't-
to be transparent if you're doing that.
Yeah,
Well-
and please don't call yourself a stable genius when you're not don't call yourself a genius. Hey, I'm a genius.
What do you do? You work at the Apple?
Hey, listen, I got to tell you.
Even
yeah,
Einstein
I'll
didn't call
listen, the
himself.
the geniuses at the Apple store are more geniuses than he is. Okay? I mean, when you call yourself a genius, and I was going to say, when you call yourself a genius, as he called himself, that really is going to be a big blow to Einstein. I mean, let's reserve genius for those people who really are geniuses and never refer to yourself as a genius. I was saying to somebody the other day when they were talking about somebody being a genius, I said, I don't think anybody ever called me a genius.
And rightfully so.
And rightfully so. And if they had said I was a genius, I'd tell them, hey, that's going to be that's going to be big news to Einstein.
Actually, you're a pretty smart guy.
How about Da Vinci? He did.
Well,
okay.
no, but being a genius is a different quality. And,
you ever take
he
the
wasn't
test?
even a business genius for crying out
Let
loud.
me ask you this, Alex. Did you ever take the what do they call that test that they give you for Mensa?
No.
Aptitude?
No. I always
Yeah.
considered that kind of. I don't know. I just let's say I was a genius. Let's say I could pass
Yeah.
the Mensa test. I still wouldn't do it because, quite frankly, I'm not going like, look how smart I am.
Well, yeah,
You know.
I had somebody that wanted me to do it when I was much younger, and maybe when I was younger, I had more, cognitive ability than I do now.
Mhm.
But I didn't do it either.
Yeah. Yeah.
I thought it was a waste.
But I wanted to ask Charlie. Charlie, you got some things you want
Yeah.
to say here?
Well, I sort of said him. I mean, he's not transparent. He's the opposite of transparent. Anything they've ever asked him for, he's fought tooth and nail not to get it, not to have to give it.
He let every single person that Mueller wanted to interview be interviewed. He provided millions of documents.
And then he retracted their statements in the Mueller report, so we can't see what they told. So that's not
those redacted statements don't have to do with Trump. They have to do with no,
they have to do with the people that testified.
How do you know that, Phil?
Because
can you read under what was blacked out?
That's what Mueller said. Mueller said that.
No, he didn't talk about the redaction. In fact, he was very unhappy with the way in which this.
No, he was unhappy with the way the media was portraying.
No, you've got it all wrong, Phil. You're reading the wrong papers. He was upset by the fact that what's his name, the Attorney General Barr, interpreted what was in his report and interpreted it all wrong. That's what he was upset about.
You know, the other night.
Wait a minute, answer that, Phil. That's what he was upset about.
I don't agree with that.
Am I wrong, everybody? Am I misstating it?
Of course he is.
No, you're not wrong. You are absolutely right.
Mm-hmm.
Sycophant.
You said it last night, and
yeah,
that's what you said.
Yeah,
and you were correct. That's all.
Yeah.
Well, I don't see it from the same angle.
Well,
no kidding.
He's so transparent. He's telling people that don't even work for him anymore that they can't go in front of Congress.
Yeah, because he has something called executive privilege in these conversations. And also,
well, there's a question as to what executive privilege is. There's a question as to what
they're trying to create a perjury trap. They don't care about the facts. The Congress doesn't
lie,
care.
You can't commit perjury.
No, because if you say, "Oh, I had 4 tamales," and you really had 3 tamales, you're going to jail. You know, they use these. It's a trap for a reason. They call it.
Oh, you mean like what they did to Clinton?
Yeah, probably.
He asked them what is sex, and what they defined sex as did not include blowjobs. So he did not lie to Congress when he said he didn't have sex with her.
Because he lied.
Well, here's what I've heard. Now, let me bring Charlene into this. Charlene,
Yes.
Is a blowjob sex?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So when somebody says, "How many times have you had sex?" Do you include the blowjobs?
Yes.
Really, you do? Because most women won't.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, maybe the ones you date.
Most of the women I've talked to, I've said, "Well, is a blowjob sex?" And they go, "No."
I don't know.
It's nasty, they say.
Well, I never considered it sex. I mean, if somebody said, "Did you have sex with that woman?" I would go, "No, I got a blowjob, but I didn't have sex with her."
No, I'm sorry. It doesn't matter. So does that mean that gay men don't have sex because it's not a vagina?
No, they have sex because they take it up the ass.
Okay, so they're taking it in the mouth. What's the difference?
No, I'm saying that well, since when? Well, let me put it this way: an ass is very close to the vagina. Okay.
You bend over the mouth.
In fact, sometimes, occasionally, I made that mistake. Okay.
On purpose.
I mean, I would like 2 more inches, Phil, and you would have been a butt fuck. Anyway, all I'm saying is that they wanted to get Clinton. They were as much like you're claiming they want to get Trump.
Exactly.
And they went after Clinton, and they got him. They got him, and put him in a perjury trap.
Exactly. So Trump is smart enough to know that that's what they're trying to do.
He's smart enough
so
to.
Don't send these guys.
I think he's smart. Something. Look, you're not going to tell me that. Oh God, I'm not even going to ask you this because I know the answer I'm going to get, and it's stupid of me even to ask. It's like.
Well, at least it's predictable.
What?
I'm predictable.
It's predictable? What's predictable?
Yeah. My answer.
What your answer is going to be. Yeah. I mean, the question is, do you honestly believe he isn't trying to hide something?
I don't know. But
Doesn't that bother
maybe.
you? Wait a minute, let me finish. Doesn't that bother you?
No,
Why?
because it's none of my business.
It is.
I don't give a shit.
It is
If
absolutely
the guy
your business.
embellishes-
It's your business. It's Charlie's business. It's Kevin's
If the
business.
guy
It's
embellished-
Charlene's business. It's Jeff's business. It's my business because we are citizens of this country, and he is the steward over this. And
Right.
he is
Well,
not he's treating it like a private ego trip rather than something where he's doing something for me.
You said exactly what he is. He was the duly elected president of the United States. And therefore, whether you like him there and sitting in that house or not, it doesn't matter. And unless he gets voted out, he is the president. And if you're going to try to create these tactics to stifle,
Nixon was a duly
to
elected
stifle
president.
what the people that voted for him wanted, then I think that that's obstruction.
But
By
he's
us?
the president. He's not the king.
Right.
No,
Nobody
but
said
they're
he was.
obstructing the president.
He
He's
is
acting
acting
like the king.
Well, you think he's acting like the king. He's just doing what he promised to
No,
do.
he's not
He's
acting like the
doing
king.
whatever the fuck he
He's
wants to.
acting like a South American dictator.
Yeah.
And
Right.
and assuming he has the
Vladimir
same
Putin.
and assuming he has the same rights and privileges.
Yeah. So, is he starving the American people? Is he withholding medicine?
Not yet. Not
people
yet.
eating from
Yeah, actually.
dumpsters?
I'll tell you, he is. Yes, he is, Phil.
Yeah. Why? Because he wants to improve
No,
the medical.
no, he doesn't want to improve
Prove
anything.
he's kicked 20 million people off of health care.
No, he said that you don't have
Wait a
a
minute.
mandate.
Hold on a second. Hold on
that
a
you
second,
have
Phil.
to pay.
Shut up, Phil. I mean, what I'm trying to say to you is, and you
You can
won't.
find a better way to.
Yeah,
ask me
well,
to-
you stop, don't you?
Well, no, I stopped because I'm not happy
Phil,
with that.
oh, okay. Well, shut up anyway. Anyway, where were we?
The
You know,
medical.
this man that you say is trying to help everybody yesterday walked out of a meeting where he didn't want to help anybody.
Yes.
Yeah, if he wanted to help everybody, he would have blown all that off and kept on going and done something.
Well, that's your opinion. My
No,
opinion
that's
is
what he would have
that,
done. That's not my opinion.
It's not a good negotiating position to.
There
when
was
you're-
no
when you're being
negotiating going on here, Phil. What
No.
they were doing was
There's
getting
no
together and
negotiation.
figuring out a way that this country's infrastructure could be improved. It was not a matter that anybody was negotiating for anything.
They already
And the
have it.
reason he got out of that, among other reasons, is he didn't have a clue on how to do it.
Plus his ego.
No, it was more about money, and I think
No, it
what
had
you
nothing to
don't-
do with money, Phil. There wasn't money
The
that was.
Republicans.
What they were going to
not-
discuss was the infrastructure and a lot of other situations in which you and everybody on this panel, their lives would be improved by it.
The conversation the other day was supposed to be about how it was going to get paid, and the problem was, I believe that the Republican Senate it would basically push back and said, "We're not going to spend that money." And I think he just had to cut it off.
Oh, I see. And so therefore it took him 3 minutes to get out of the room. Then they didn't sit there discussing how maybe they
No,
could work
because
this
he-
out.
Nobody else
He had his other issue with them, which is
No,
when they
because,
said that
because he had the
was,
mic set up outside with the signs up already to give a speech that he was planning on giving. He knew exactly how that
has
meeting was going to turn.
Resolution.
He
and
has
go,
those signs and that information on every meeting that he goes into. He was
I've
with
never
the
seen him before.
farmers
Have you
today.
ever seen those signs before?
He's been using.
Have
those
you
same
ever seen
statistics.
those signs before, Phil?
Not those.
No, okay, then those signs were made up the night before because they knew what was going to happen at that meeting, that he was going to be out of there in 3 minutes and then be giving a speech, and these signs were there, and the stuff was being passed out to the press.
What about the lies that Pelosi?
Wait,
and
no,
Schumer
no,
said
no,
that he was-
forget about the whatabouts right now. We're
No,
talking about
they
him.
said that in the meeting, he was banging on the desk. They made him out like a khrushchev.
No, they didn't say
banging his
he.
shoe.
Anybody hear them say he was banging on his desk?
No, I didn't.
Yes, and
No,
and,
no.
and, being,
I
and
saw
yelling
that.
at them.
I didn't hear that at all. All I heard was
I
them
did,
saying
because you don't
he
hear
said
what
what
you
he
don't
had to
wanna
say. They said he said what he had to say, and then he was out of there in 3
left.
minutes.
Right.
They
didn't
didn't
get a
talk
chance to
about
respond
any
at all.
pounding on a desk. That was another meeting they had a long time ago that you're
No,
thinking
no,
about,
they
Phil.
said-
no,
they
they
said
didn't.
this
They didn't,
today.
Phil. They just didn't. I listened to what they had to say. None of them said that.
Yeah, I heard it.
Well, I don't know where you heard it.
I heard it from Pelosi.
I didn't hear it from Pelosi. I listened to everything Pelosi had to say.
No, I hear it from Pelosi. I heard her.
She said
repeat it
they were
several
in
times
there.
on C-SPAN.
He talked for 3 minutes, and then he turned
Right.
around and walked out. There was no talking about fists. Anybody hear that about a fist being hit on
No.
it? No.
Now, he was in a meeting with the farmers today, and 5 of his people, Kelly Conway, Mercedes Schlaff, his spokeswoman, Sarah Sanders, he had asked each one individually, did I do what Pelosi accused him of doing, which was, and they each and every one of them said, no, you were very respectful, you said your piece.
What do you think they're going to say?
Hey,
Yeah.
Sarah Sanders.
To begin with, they
said,
never said anything about him pounding his fist. I'm telling you that, Phil.
I'm
None of
telling
us
you,
heard it.
why
How
would
come
they
you're
bring
the
it up
only
to
one here
5
that heard
people
it?
in the
How come you're the only one here that heard it?
Because I'm the one that thinks outside
No,
the box.
no, this is not outside the box. She didn't say that.
I heard her say it. I heard her say
Well,
it.
then you're hearing things, Phil.
Delusional.
You're delusional.
Okay.
You're delusional, which
All
makes
right.
you a perfect fit as being a Trumper.
Yeah.
You know.
You didn't hear her say it because you believe it to be true. You know.
You know something?
It's his personality.
The only thing she
Yeah.
said that I agreed with 100% was, I pray for Donald Trump and I pray for the United States of America.
Yeah.
And then
I didn't know you prayed.
today she said it again. She says, I pray for Donald Trump and I pray that his family will do an intervention.
Yeah. Because
If they
she's trying
care
to make
about the
him out
United
to be
States
nuts.
of America. She's not
You don't get
nuts.
him out.
Wait a minute,
And now-
let Charlene talk. She hasn't talked all night. Yes, Charlene.
If we don't get him out in 2020, if we have him again, we're finished as a country.
Yeah.
That's what I'm hearing. I mean, I believe it
Definitely.
myself. He's going to have us totally ruined. Another 4 years if we
You
get
mean
him
there'll be
again.
no unemployment?
Oh, please, Phil.
Unemployment will be the least of our worries.
Yeah, it is the least of our worries.
We'll see. As far as I'm concerned, I think he's doing a great job.
Yeah,
And there's a lot of people
Phil,
that think
I want
just
to
like
ask you a
me.
question. Let me ask you a question. I want to see how well you know your economics. Okay.
Well,
Yeah. He's imposing tariffs against China. Is that correct?
yes.
What is a tariff and who pays it?
It's a tax, and the people that buy those products in this, for instance, if the tariff is in the United States, the people in the United States who buy those products pay the tariff.
That is correct. So how is that benefiting us?
Because you have a choice.
Because he's
you
been
can either-
been quoted as saying that the tariff is against the Chinese.
Well, it is.
Well, wait a
because
minute. No, it's not, because the Chinese are not paying a penny.
It doesn't matter. What happens is the Chinese products don't get bought over the American-made
So
products.
you don't think there's a whole rest of the world to sell your stuff in?
We buy a lot of their shit. Matter of fact, we're buying $500 billion, a $500 billion.
And by the way, I'm going to go buy.
Chinese
I need to go buy an air conditioner, and I'm probably going to have to do it next week. And by then, the prices will have gone up on it. I'm still going to buy that air conditioner.
Just get one from Korea.
It's just I'm going to be a little lighter. In I think he's put some tariffs against Korea as well.
No, I think he lifted, and he's lifting the tariffs against the steel tariffs and so forth against Mexico and Canada, because they've come to an agreement. But we'll see if the Congress votes in the new NAFTA, whatever it's called. It's got some different initials, Mexican-Canada agreement, and and if they stifle that, then that's going to hurt the United States, and it's going to hurt Canada, and it's going to hurt Mexico. But when
enough of that.
When you have product that's made in China,
I'm getting a headache,
and it's
Phil.
tariff.
I'm getting a headache,
Okay.
Phil.
Okay, but as a consumer, I can choose whether I buy that one or I buy the
Phil,
American-made one that doesn't have the
What
tariff.
if America doesn't make that product?
Then they better start.
Oh, really? And who's going to make that product in the United States? How do you force people to make a product?
You don't force them. They see an opportunity. That's the whole thing. Business is you find
really?
an opportunity and you fill it.
You
What
really
difference does it make if we pay the tariff on American-made products because the price has gone up to encourage Americans to make it, or if we
No.
pay the tariff on
Oh,
the
and,
Chinese?
and by the way,
No,
Phil,
the
those
Chinese-
American-made products will have a tariff on them if they try to sell to China or any other country.
Right, but we sell $50 billion a year to China. They sell us $500 billion a year. So it's a very unequal amount of money. Plus, the tariff.
Yeah, but you can't force it to equalize itself. We are now
That's what Trump wants.
what Trump fails to understand, because Trump is a lousy businessman.
He wants
He's
an
a
even
terrible,
playing
terrible businessman, and he
Hey,
doesn't
you learn by your
understand.
mistakes.
Can I talk? Jesus Christ!
Okay, well, but you're saying.
Forget it. I'm not going to talk
you're
anymore. about
accusing
this.
him of
I'm
being
not-
a terrible
I'm-
businessman.
He's a terrible businessman. Yes, I'm not
Bankruptcy
accusing him.
6
It's been proven.
Well,
It's been
if you're gonna
proven.
Continue to condemn a guy.
How about all those bankruptcies, Phil? Come on, a great businessman.
Another what about?
No, this
so-
isn't a whataboutism. The whataboutism is
yeah, you
something
use
that's a
how-
reality. I'm not comparing it to something else, which is a whataboutism. I'm saying, what about the times he's gone bankrupt? You know,
Okay,
good
I'll
business
give
people
you a
don't go
little
back.
scenario.
Huh?
Thomas Edison.
I'm tired of this. I'm really tired of this.
Listen to this. Thomas Edison, when he went to invent the light bulb, and it finally was a success. What ended up? Oh, you're going to take your ball and glove and bat, and I'm not looking anymore. Anyway, when Thomas Edison invented the light bulb, he was asked, "How did you persevere when you had 1,000 experiments that didn't work?" Yeah, okay. But this is interesting stuff.
I don't
Anyway,
care. I'm not going to get any kind of economics lecture from you, Phil.
Well, Edison said, this is not economics, but Edison said, I had 1,000 experiments that didn't fail. They just didn't work. And then once.
Yeah. And he was also a crook as well. He stole a lot of his inventions.
All right.
But, so I'm not going to listen to Thomas
But
Edison.
he perfected the light bulb.
Oh, that was it.
Yeah, and I was saying it took 1,000
Are
experiments.
you sure he's the only one
before-
that? You sure he's the only one that perfected the light bulb?
Well, no, but.
Okay. He was a
the one that's
fucking.
credited with it.
He used other people's brilliance. Okay, and those that didn't go along with his brilliance were thrown under the rug. I mean,
like Steve Jobs.
no, I mean when you talk about electricity, he was in a big fight over AC versus DC, and tried to throw Tesla under the bus, and in fact managed to, for the most part, by electrocuting an elephant. You know that one?
No.
Oh, well, what he did was to prove how AC was bad. He used AC and electrocuted an elephant to death as an example. And then to make it even worse, he went out and invented the electric chair so that people could be killed by AC electricity.
Hey, that was a good seller.
Yeah, well, it didn't work. What do we use today?
Well, that's because it was too grueling and.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. What do you mean? What was too grueling? I'm saying
the electric chair.
No. What
Now
I'm saying
use
is no. I'm saying
more
that
humane.
AC ruled out in spite of all of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we still use a lot of DC.
Oh no, you don't.
Sure. The phone lines are DC. The
phone lines aren't DC.
Low.
We don't.
Voltage is DC.
Phil, we don't use DC. You know why?
Yeah,
we
we
don't?
convert from AC.
You
to
know
DC.
why we don't use DC?
Direct current. Yeah.
Yeah, because it can't be distributed as far. You have to build power stations much closer to the last power station in order to make DC work, and that's why it was finally thrown out, and Edison lost the battle.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Edison was a fucking crook.
Well, it's still the story about.
But he was
his
a genius.
1,000 attempts. Huh? Yeah, he was genius. His story about his 1,000 attempts to perfect the light bulb or to get it to work.
Not again.
Yeah, and I mean, it's a true story.
Well, I've made 1,000 attempts to make this show work, and I still haven't made it work.
Well, you got to persevere. You know, if you give up, you fail.
We've come close the nights you haven't been on, but you know.
Nah.
Oh.
Well, that's because you get, well, you would think you get these snowflakes that won't call in, that don't want to hear something that isn't to their thinking. You know, they don't want to hear anything from anybody else except Antifada and the rest of them.
Yeah, a couple of people have written on our chat room here, which I never said, but Jesus, Phil, admit you heard this BS on Rush and Sean's show and stop lying.
No, it was C-SPAN.
Matt Crash writes, Obama saved the country from total economic disaster. How do you answer that one?
Yeah, what he did was he created more government jobs so that he could put people to work. And all he did, he drove up the deficit by several trillion
He didn't
dollars.
drive it up. He drove it down.
It was 15 trillion when Bush left office. It was 19 trillion when.
Deficit.
Do you know what it is? You know what it is now,
Deficit
Phil?
was
21.
22.
He
right.
drove it down to 600 billion in his 8 years.
I don't know where you're getting that
Less
statistic
than
from.
half. What do you mean?
Yeah.
That's history. Google
Because
it.
it was 19 trillion when he left office.
I'm not talking
It went
about
from
the
15
debt.
to 19.
Of course, you can't stop a locomotive in 2 inches.
And so in the
deficit
2 years,
down.
in the 2 years that Trump took over, he's still paying Obama's deficits.
We're paying it. He jacked it back up. It's over $1 trillion
Megan
again.
Be-
It was 600 billion when he took office.
Megan Belknap
Megan,
just
what are you
wrote,
talking about?
Trump
Megan
has made the deficit go up.
Megan Belknap just wrote, Belknap wrote rather, why does Phil have to take over the entire program?
Because she doesn't call. If
Well,
Megan Belkamp,
If
would
she
pick
called,
up
you'd have
her-
another person to interrupt.
Yeah, but she's a newbie. I wouldn't interrupt.
I mean, do you think that a lot of people feel they can join in on the conversation when you go on one of these nonstop defenses of Trump?
Yeah, well, you go on a nonstop attack. So
I mean, Kevin, do you feel like you can jump in at any moment when he's going?
I'd try, but
if you listen, you'll see that if somebody starts talking, I shut up.
Oh no, Phil.
Oh yeah.
Oh no.
And I'm very respectful.
How many here would disagree with Phil on that one? Raise your hand.
That's like
Yeah.
asking Kelly Conway if Trump banged his hand on the desk. Come on.
Ask him if he banged Kelly Conway on the desk.
I don't know. Her husband isn't too happy with Trump. Maybe he is.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Anyway, there was another story that I wanted to bring up here because I was going to bring it up right after the Mario Batali story, and that is someone else who got caught up in the Me Too movement assaults on him, and that was actor Jeffrey Rush.
Who's that?
Who's that? He's an actor, Phil. Don't you see movies?
Yeah, but I don't know who he is. What's he been in?
Caribbean,
It was
and
in.
a lot of stuff.
Yeah. He won an Academy Award as Best Actor years ago. But anyway, Jeffrey Rush was just awarded 2.9 million Australian dollars, or more than 1.9 million US dollars, in his defamation lawsuit against the Sydney newspaper publisher and journalist. Rush successfully sued the Daily Telegraph for defamation after it published allegations of abuse towards a co-star during a production of King Lear in Sydney between 2015 and 2016. The Australian newspaper reported Rush had inappropriately touched the co-star's breasts and back, followed her into a bathroom, and sent her an inappropriate text message, accusations which the actor denied. Last month, federal court judge Wigney ruled the paper had been extravagant and reckless in its reporting. Commenting on the two articles about Rush, Wigley said this was a recklessly irresponsible piece of sensational journalism of the worst kind. So Shine was the picture he won the Academy Award for. He'd been nominated 3 other times and forgotten totally by Phil Meyer.
I didn't see that one either.
He was in Shakespeare in Love and The King's Speech and Quills.
Didn't see any of them.
You didn't see any of them. Well, you just
I didn't
don't-
even know they existed.
Oh, that's because they're good movies, and you watch Longmire. Uh,
Wait a minute, Longmire's a good show.
Yeah, I like Longmire.
I watched it and I fell asleep in the middle of it, so I can't tell you, you know. But I think it's about time some of these people started fighting this Me Too stuff about them, because it just got to be almost a fad for a while, and a lot of careers were destroyed on insinuation, and I don't know if that's right, you know. Anybody have a comment about that? I guess not. No, looks like it was silent majority there. So
I was waiting for somebody else because I didn't want to jump in.
Oh. Well,
Meanwhile,
So you get crickets when you ask a question.
yes,
I don't.
right.
Okay.
Right. Well, we
Not
got
every time.
Well, this time.
Just as one time.
Well, you see, it's a show. You're supposed to not leave dead air. You know?
well, we've got 20 minutes left. I suppose I could get Damien to come in and do a whole show.
Sure,
You know.
sure.
You know. Because towards the end of the show, 20 minutes is an awfully long time.
Yeah.
You know?
I listened to Damien tonight. I still.
Well,
never
Damien
saw Clown at all.
wasn't. Damien wasn't there tonight.
Oh, they were talking about
Yeah,
the.
no, that was last night's show.
Oh, well, it was on the feed.
Yeah, that was when SG was, and then SG was trying to call a show that wasn't taking calls at the moment, and I finally had to turn off Skype in order to keep him from calling. You know.
Yeah. Well, that's not a bad thing to do.
Well, I mean-
you don't want to take a call.
Well,
And
no,
Skype
yeah,
is
well,
not.
Well,
is
you know
not
what?
allowing you
I'll
to
tell you what I hate
restrict
about this Skype is that it used to be that I could turn this, turn it off so you couldn't call me, and I can't do that now. I can be on I just found out I can be on Do Not Disturb, or I can be on
something's
Invisible. No, there's nothing wrong, and you can still call me.
Well, why do they have the green thing, the red thing?
Yeah, well,
and-
but you
And the yellow thing.
if you see me red sometime, try calling me. It'll ring.
Well, I saw you red just before the show.
That's right. That's right. And if you had called me at that point, you would have gotten through.
Well, that's
it would
because
have
I'm
rung
persistent.
here. It would have rung here. That's what's wrong with it. You have to completely get rid of Skype. I
Wow.
could have it sitting here waiting and put it on, do not disturb or whatever, and not worry about it. But instead, I've got SG ringing, and he's ringing because he isn't listening to the program and can't tell that we're not doing something else.
In Skype, you can turn off the ringer. I know you like having it on to see when the first
I
one's
can't
calling.
turn off the ringer on the first ring.
Oh.
In fact, I will look here. Okay, audio
Or
and
can
video.
you make it a
general.
tone that isn't as
General.
disturbing?
I keep saying ring appearance. I don't need an appearance. Audio video. No, that doesn't. Unmute incoming calls. No. Ring for additional device. No. Messaging. Notifications. No. I have no place to turn it off. There was some place I turned off ringing.
Yeah, you're
Notification sounds. Yeah, I turned off notification sounds. But even with that turned off, the first one.
Wait.
What?
Charlene.
Charlene asleep?
I heard Phil.
Uh,
I heard him.
No, what happens is
Restoring.
you can turn it off, and it's turned off. But the first call does make a ringing sound.
Yeah.
Okay? Everything after that, no.
All
You
right.
know.
Can you turn down the volume of it?
No.
All right.
Well, I don't figure that most of you are as non-caring as SG, and you do listen to the program and see when it's time to call.
Mm.
You do listen to see if,
I usually
hey,
wait till you say I'm opening the Skype line.
he's interviewing somebody. And unfortunately, when I have that open, which is where I play the video of Ronnie, it also has the Skype on it. So when he rang, it kept ringing in the middle of that interview. And if
then he doesn't call during the show.
And then he doesn't call during the show, of course. Fucking piece of shit. Anyway.
You got a way of endearing yourself to.
I
your
don't give a
callers.
shit. No.
Shut up, Phil.
Why should I endear myself to him? I don't want him calling. Okay, at least not when he doesn't. It doesn't care about the show. So it's just his own ego that is in play.
There's different levels of caring.
Yeah. There's different levels of caring. One of which is somebody giving you a blowjob, but I'm not going to suggest that from SG.
But that's sex.
That's sex. Yeah. Right. Let's look at the and I'd like to ask Kevin this and Jeff this and Charlene this and Charlie this.
Don't answer Phil.
I'm leaving Phil out of this. Right now, who are you looking at as the presidential nominees are lining up for attention? Kevin, who do you like? Anybody out there you like?
Way too early.
You say it's way too early. Unfortunately,
there's too many to pick from. But I don't know. Buttigieg is I like his style.
Yeah, but I think a lot of them should get out of the way.
Oh yeah. They're all gonna. Bunch of them are gonna drop off like real quick.
I mean,
who's your top 5?
Well, my top one is Buttigieg. Okay, I think this guy could really take Trump on and not let him get away with shit and do it in a very distinguished manner. Okay, and with a lot of dignity. I think my second choice now this is only to beat Trump, not that I like him particularly, all right? But if we consider that the job of the Democratic nominee is to beat Trump, then we have to pick people who are capable of beating Trump. And my second choice then in that case would be Biden. Yep. Because Biden speaks to the common man. He goes into places like Pennsylvania and can speak to the people there. He's very much a common man kind of guy. Third, I may be, there is no third in my mind. There are only about 2 people I think could beat Trump, and it's either Biden or Buttigieg. I think that Elizabeth Warren is very intelligent, has some great ideas, articulates well, but that never got you elected.
You don't think Harris could do the job?
Kamala Harris, she's good, she's okay, but she's not capable of getting into a good down and dirty fight with Trump. And Trump's going to play it dirty. Okay?
Yeah. What? De Blasio?
Never. I don't even know why he's fucking running. I mean, it just makes it makes no sense to me. But most of these people,
I just don't understand. All of these people's position is, I don't like Trump. Vote for me so you don't get Trump.
Well, do remember
the only one the only one that's making a position on and not worrying about Trump and just saying, if you vote for me and I win, then I'll be president, is Andrew Yang. And Andrew Yang
Yang hasn't got a fucking chance.
Not true.
He'll be on the big boy stage.
Yes, Charlie. What, Charlie? He may not be on the big boy stage. Charlie?
It's not true that Andrew Yang's the only one that's doing it. Elizabeth Warren has given more positions on more issues than all the other candidates combined. She's got a plan for everything.
She's spoiled, over this DNA thing. She's tainted.
Cut off your nose to spite your face.
She's tainted.
She's only tainted momentarily, Phil. Okay. Once we get into the heat of things, it's what she has to say and how people respond to that. Yes. But I'm afraid that the problem is that this whole thing is primaried. And I don't think I trust the people to make the right judgment as to who would be the person who could beat Trump. And that is the object here, Phil, no matter what you want to say. The object is to beat Trump. And it has to be somebody who knows how to take him on mano a mano or woman a mano,
So is the DNC coming up with double stamps for delegates? Not only super delegates, but real super delegates in order to get the guy on the ticket
I
that
don't.
they
I
want?
don't know what they're doing this time, but all I know is that I don't want to see the Democrats make a mistake. How do you feel about that, Kevin? Do you think they're? Do you think the Democrats are capable of actually coming up with a decent candidate?
It's a tough one, but yeah, I think so.
Really?
Well, they had Hillary last time.
No,
I mean,
there's somebody in there. I mean, obviously, Biden or Buttigieg, and there's going to be 3 or 4 of them in there that are going to be halfway decent.
you put somebody in there with the socialist views of those guys or Bernie Sanders, and this is going to be another.
Well, that's why Buttigieg. That's why Buttigieg is such a good idea. He's not really a
right.
socialist in nature. Yes, Jeff.
He's not.
I can't make a decision on anyone until I hear these people talk one-on-one or against 10 people, whatever.
And the debates, yeah.
And there's a debate. Otherwise, it's just not a good method of making those decisions.
Jeff, did you listen to any of those town halls that the different networks had?
Yeah, a little bit of it.
Didn't somebody the other night get a standing ovation at Fox?
Yeah, that was Buttigieg.
That was Buttigieg, yeah.
Yeah.
No, it was.
It was Buttigieg.
I think most of the people that were on the Fox thing got ovations.
No, a
Buttigieg-
standing ovation. Nobody else
Yeah,
got it.
Bernie did too.
Bernie did?
Yeah.
But Buttigieg got one on the fact that he just didn't give a shit what Trump was saying. You know, when they asked him straight up, you know, they're going to tear you apart. He's going to tear you up, and he's going to call you names. And basically, he just sat there and said, you know, I don't care.
I wonder if
They
there
all
was.
stood up.
Do you think there was some invited audience for those town halls that they maybe stacked the audience a little bit? That
At Fox?
the guy, at Fox, that they weren't going to.
You think?
Buttigieg says, "Hey, I got tickets for
If
my
they were
people."
going to stack him at Fox, it would seem to me they'd be stacking
They would
it the
stack
other way.
Well,
yeah.
no. That's if Fox was in control of who was in the audience.
Well,
But
yeah,
if
and you
Buttigieg
noticed
was
that
in-
that night that Trump was over there blasting Fox for going the other way too, right?
Yeah.
Now he's not their friend. Just like what's his name? What the hell's his? What was the Secretary of Defense? What's his name?
Children?
The one that he liked so much and then kicked out, and now
Tillerson.
Yeah,
Yeah,
called him
I'm
a
still
box
thinking
of rocks
Gates.
today.
Yeah, what was he calling him today?
He called him a box of rocks today, and
Yeah.
you know, a year and a half, 2 years ago, he was the greatest thing since you know.
What is the compelling thing that Trump has to start calling people who are gone? You know, they're out the door. Calling
They
them
showed it.
names. Calling
They
them
showed
names.
it on TV. You know, they show him 4 or 5, 6 clips about how he's so great, and then last night, the shit that he's saying on Twitter about how he's dumb as a box of rocks and he's an idiot and why he even, you know, why he shouldn't even have been in that position and blah blah blah. He hired the guy.
Yeah. But I mean, I don't understand what the thinking is in being what's the word I'm looking for? In just being insulting to people who haven't been
Vindictive.
around for years.
He's a bully.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree that Trump is a bully. Nobody's perfect.
Well, why not just fire him and let him go and not say nothing and leave it alone?
That's just not what bullies
But
do.
don't we really want the most perfect person we can find, or assume it's the most perfect person we can find to be president?
There are no perfect people.
You know, kids are learning government today, like my daughter, and they're looking at the presidency now and going, "What the hell?"
You know,
You know?
there's
Example
40
of
Well,
something
my
percent.
question is, when I was growing up, did we have a wrong impression about the presidency? You know, and whether
When I was growing up, I was looking at people like Kennedy.
When he was growing up, he was looking at Martin
well,
Van
but
Buren.
I'm wondering if we always had this attitude that the president was something hallowed and terrific and wonderful, and whatever.
Respected.
Yeah,
You mean Camelot?
and probably no. Forget Camelot. Go
Just the-
back to
even the
go back to
presidents after that, you
Eisenhower. Go
still had
back to
respect for
Truman.
him.
You know, I mean, the whole idea was that he was the president. You know, and I think maybe we were given a false impression of how much we should respect these people. But on the other hand, we've gone completely the other direction. And kids are growing up today having no respect for the presidency because the president they've got can't be respected.
And at the
media
end
is
of
a
the
big
day,
part.
even the first couple of weeks of this presidency, I still said to myself, okay, he's the president. We got to respect the office. And then all shit broke loose.
Years ago, I interviewed a guy named Ashley Montague. He was an anthropologist, and he wrote a book called The Elephant Man, which I incidentally got the rights to. And
saw
we
the play.
and we tried to push it around Hollywood for a movie, and nobody would take the idea, so we gave up on it. But
saw
I
the
had
play.
I had the rights
I'm
to.
not ugly.
Yeah, but anyway, I asked him, how do we judge beauty? And he says beauty is usually judged by the people who are in power. In fact, the way in which we operate and the way in which we relate to one another and the way we treat each other is based upon that person who is in power. And the fact is, we've got a president here who is not a good example of how anybody should be acting. And that's the terrible part about it, and he's a terrible example to the children of America.
You know, you had mentioned Truman.
Now, that kind of resounded with you, Phil. You paused there for a moment.
Well, you know, if he does wear long ties, and but Truman, for instance, when you had said that Trump was a failed businessman, you know, Truman was a failed businessman too. His hardware
He was
store.
a haberdasher. He was not a hardware.
No, he had
store.
a hardware.
No,
store.
he was a hat. He had his hat store.
Like Tony. But he had business problems too, didn't he?
Not once he became a senator. I think was he a senator?
Yeah, well, yeah. But when he was in private life, he had problems. You know, people have problems. Not, you know, sometimes you got to fail in order to know how to succeed.
Yeah, but that's not the point I'm making here, Phil. It's not even what I was saying. I was talking about
No,
the
I
fact.
understand, but
What I was talking
thinking.
about is the tone of a nation is set by somebody like the President of the United States. The civility we engender, the way we do business, the way we react to each other, how we treat each other, the tone is set in the White House.
Do you think that Trump would be the way he is if he wasn't constantly being attacked by the
Yes,
Democrats?
yes,
and
because he
the-
was always that way before he was president.
Yeah, he was that way as a businessman.
Do you
No.
think the country would be as aggressive as it is right now if it wasn't for our leadership?
I don't think it would be as aggressive right now if it wasn't for the media. And
Well, the media projects what the leadership projects.
no, and you have a Congress that's trying to stifle him and not allow him to get through the legislation that he wanted to.
No, they're
Well,
willing
wait
to
a
work
minute. He
with
had a
him. They walked
Republican
into his
Congress.
office the other day ready to work for him, and he wasn't ready to work with them.
Yeah, he didn't
And
have.
he works for us. Remember that.
Well, apparently he doesn't, Kevin. Apparently you're living in a dream world. Okay.
I'm sorry, stupid me. Let me wake back up.
Yeah.
It's about time.
Yeah.
Damn it.
Well, Charlene woke up.
Anyway, there's the theme.
Wow.
Yeah. Jeez. Charlene, got any last words for us?
No. I'm
Oh.
gonna go pee.
You gotta go pee.
But it's midnight in her area.
I gotta go pee. That's what she's saying. That's what she said. Anyway, hey, listen. Thank you, Phil. Appreciate it. In spite of everything, Jeff, thank you. Thank you to Charlie. Kevin, thank you, and Charlene, thank you. If all of you give a big wave goodbye, I'll wave back at you, and we'll say goodbye to the citizens panel. There they go, folks. Let me turn them off here. How do I turn them off? Oh, I know. I can just show them my penis. No, that's it for our citizen panel, and that's all she wrote for tonight. We're back again. Let's see here. Well, next is Jack Bishop. Let me say that with the with the intersection. And tomorrow night at 9:30, Damien will be here with the Exchange. He wasn't here tonight because he had a root canal, but he should be fine by tomorrow. I did the show one night with my tooth just pulled. Oh well. Anyway, because I was brought up in a culture that said, you got to do a radio program no matter what shape you're in. And you noticed I do that. Anyway, listen, stay tuned next for The Intersection. Jack Bishop. I'll be back again tomorrow night, 10 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time, same station in life. And in the meantime, if you see her, tell her I love her, okay? Bye-bye.